solving mysteries in the night. Chasing shadows, finding answers, shining bright light. No one's left behind in the darkness, all alone. With a heart like a siren, she brings the lost ones home. Silent cries in the dark no longer have to be. For justice wheels keep turning, Granny on the beat. Broken voices find their power, call out hope again. With Granny's crime busters run, no victims left in pain. Bravery in her veins, truth she won't disguise. With a fire in her eyes, she's got nothing to deny. Granny fights for justice, never backs down from the call. For the voiceless and the missing, she'll stand tall.
Hello, everybody. Come on in. It's good to see everybody. Hey, there is an update on a horrific case. It's awful. And I had first talked about it on Granny's morning news clip that come out every morning at 8 a.m. Central Time. So be sure and check it out. But this case is horrific. It is about a stepmom who held her stepson captive for 20 years. The man is now 32 years old. He's 5'9". He is 68 pounds, guys. Can you imagine that? Now, they are not releasing his name. They're not showing pictures of him. And I think that, is a good thing. He set fire to his home, his room. He was kept in a small room. He set fire to his room in order to be released. The circumstances of this case, in my opinion, are horrific. This is the stepmom. Quite the piece of work, in my opinion. But without further ado, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to listen to a tape today, or a video that talks about the update.
Good evening. Thanks so much for joining us here for the news at 5. I'm Keisha Grant.
And I'm Mike Heidick. The big story continues. You heard it right. Kimberly Sullivan is out on bond tonight, walking free after her hearing earlier today.
While the judge is allowing her to go home, there are some conditions to her release.
Can you imagine, guys? She held this young man captive in this room right here. Didn't allow him to see outside. Guys. And she's free to go home. She is free to go home. In my opinion, that bond should have been set higher for her not to be able to leave. She should be held captive at least as long as she held her stepson captive. I know. This is my opinion, guys. You may have a different opinion. That's completely fine. Remember that anything that I say here is my opinion, not to be taken as fact. I do have to give that disclaimer. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Okay.
We're bringing you live team coverage tonight of the shocking case. We start with NBC Connecticut's Amanda Pitts with more on what happened in court. Amanda.
Yeah, Mike, Keisha, Kimberly Sullivan posted bond this afternoon at about 1:45 here at Waterbury Superior Court, posting 10% of her $300,000 bond. State prosecutors tried to get her under 24/7 home confinement. The judge ultimately denied that, instead putting her under a very strict supervision. All this while the investigation into how this could have possibly happened is just beginning. A welcome sign on the front door to an alleged house of horrors.
33 years of law enforcement. This is the worst treatment of humanity that I've ever witnessed.
The boarded up home on Blake Street in Waterbury is where a now 32-year-old says he was held captive by his stepmother, Kimberly Sullivan, for 20 years.
Always upstairs on the second floor window, and he always seemed like he was like trapped there.
First responders were called to the home last month after investigators say the victim set a fire in his 8x9 room using a lighter, hand sanitizer, and paper because he wanted his freedom, according to court documents. They reported the door to the room having multiple locks on the outside.
Okay, I just want to make a comment here. If that neighbor felt that it seemed like he was trapped there, then why didn't they call police? Guys, if you had a neighbor in a house like this, where windows are boarded up, but you're seeing this young man peek out, and it looks like he's trapped there, are you not going to call the police? Because I sure would. I'd be like, can you please do a welfare check? I see this kid, this guy looking out this window. He looks like he's trapped. Can you please do a welfare check? If I'm wrong, I'm really sorry, but I just think something is wrong in that home. Police are not going to hold that against you, number one. Blows my mind why people will not get involved these days. They just won't. It's disgusting, in my opinion. I'm so angry for this man. Guys, he was on. Remember, some of you may be thinking, well, he's a man. Why didn't he take her down? She didn't feed him. Very, very little. Very little. He's a 32-year-old man, 5'9", 68 pounds, guys. He had no energy to do much of anything. When he did get himself up to probably look out that window, it probably did him in for hours. I mean, you have to think about what his health was like.
And when found, the victim, according to court documents, was extremely emaciated. His hair was matted and unkempt. He was very dirty, and his teeth all appear to be rotten.
This victim, 31 years old, was 5'9", 68 pounds. He was in the stages of dying.
He told police he recalled drinking water from the toilet due to the fact that he was only getting about 2 cups of water per day, and was pulled out of school in the 4th grade as an 11-year-old because DCF was called after he'd steal others' food and sometimes eat food out of the garbage.
We knew it. We reported it. Not a damn thing was done. That's the tragedy of the whole thing.
Waterbury's chief says they have no record of that.
So isn't that convenient? DCS is saying they have no record. Police are saying they had no record. The former principal said they reported it and nothing was done. The former principal said that, I don't know who they reported to, but then the police said that they didn't call them. They just called DCS. Whatever. I'm sure the principal called whoever he's supposed to. The fact is, nothing was done about it. I think, was there follow-up? This kid was out of school from 11 years old. Okay, so maybe they went to the house once in 2005. What about follow-up? He's supposed to be in school every day. Do they not check those things anymore? Because when I went to school, they checked if you weren't there. You had to have a note to come back to school after you were sick. You had to have a note if you were going to leave early. Ridiculous.
complaint. Police did make a welfare check in 2005 at the request of DCF.
Officers went to the house. The house was clean. It was lived in. They spoke to the victim at that point in time, and there were no cause for any alarm.
Sullivan is now facing assault and kidnapping charges. Posting bond on Thursday, the judge ordering her to be under intense probation supervision. Her attorney maintaining her innocence, pinning the blame on her late husband, who died last year and was wheelchair bound.
This was the biological son of her now deceased husband. She is the stepmother. And so this father did dictate everything as to the upbringing and everything else.
Okay. But the father's been gone a year. Why didn't she release him then? I'm serious. The father's been gone a year. Why didn't she release him then? If the father dictated everything, I don't think that that is any kind of defense. Right? If the father was still alive, it'd be a different story. But it sounds like the father was in a wheelchair. How can he dictate anything? I mean, right? So maybe the father did, in the beginning, dictate this. What is wrong with the stepmother that she didn't speak up and do something for this kid? I'm serious. I mean, there comes a time when you have to speak up and when you have to say something when somebody is being treated inhumanely. Right? Yes, this case angers me, guys. I'm sure you can tell. I can't even. So many balls were dropped. Police, DCS, and I have been hearing so many cases lately where DCS has been dropping the ball. For our children. Now, back when I was young, I remember the DCS was pretty strict. I mean, they took kids away from their homes lickety-split, fast. Okay? Almost to the extreme, right? Now, it's like to the other extreme. They rarely ever take a child away, even in the worst case scenario. Guys, this was a worst case scenario. That child should have been taken out of that home. They should have followed up, because then they would have eventually known that that child should have been taken out of its home. Who knows what that young man could be today, right? Who knows what he could have been? Now, he has to slowly gain his health back. He has to go to a dentist. He's probably going to lose all his teeth, so he'll have, dentures. Not to mention his mental health. He's going to need therapy for years. And then he didn't have any schooling. So how is he going to support himself? I mean, think about the ramifications of what this young man has to go through now. And yes, it's going to be better because he's going to be taken care of. He's going to be fed. He'll slowly gain weight back. But he has to do that slowly. He can't do that overnight. Right? My heart just goes out to him. My heart just goes out to him.
Now, the Department of Children and Families did release a statement this afternoon saying, "We are shocked and saddened for the victim and at the unspeakable conditions he endured." As a result, DCF has looked extensively at our current and historical databases and to date have been unable to locate any records pertaining to this family, nor any records connected to the names of others who have indicated they made reports to our department. Now, as for Sullivan, she's due back here in court on March 26th. Live in Waterbury, Amanda Pitts, NBC Connecticut News. Mike and Keisha.
Amanda Pitts with the very latest. We continue our live team coverage now with NBC Connecticut's Matt Austin.
He's been hearing from the community about the case. Matt, how are they reacting?
Yeah, this is a real heartbreaking case for so many in this community, including for some longtime officers here. Now, some are wondering if the man had been spotted potentially over recent years.
Finding out that someone was allegedly held captive in this house in Waterbury for about 2 decades was a shock to a next-door neighbor who has lived here for 10 years.
To know I was right by here this whole time and he was going through that suffering, it's heartbreaking. I hope he'll be okay.
Zephyr Guanera tells us years ago a family member playing outside potentially spotted the alleged victim, who might have looked like a kid.
She was just a 10-year-old child on the swing, doing what kids do, looked up in the window, saw a little child. She said had a baseball cap on. He waved to her, she waved to him, and that was it. He walked away, and she never saw him again.
At this point, the now 32-year-old's name has not yet been released or where he's recovering. The mayor has asked people to respect his privacy.
It's truly a horrifying, and it's beyond comprehension what occurred here. The young man's unimaginable suffering over the course of 2 decades is just a reminder of the darkness that does exist in our world.
This case has stunned even veteran officers. We're told investigators collected and brought him items like clothing and books as he begins his recovery.
Our plan is to continue to support him. He's going to need a lot of support as he travels through this and tries to figure out how to navigate what has occurred and what the future holds for him.
Now, that next door neighbor we heard from says he's not certain that he ever saw the man, but he does wonder if that's who was outside doing chores sometimes. Live in Waterbury, Matt Austin, NBC Connecticut News. Keisha, back to you.
So sad, guys. So sad. These people that, next door neighbor, he said he never saw him. Little girl saw, a child in a baseball cap, waved at her. Those kinds of things are innocent, right? But, and I'm glad the police officer brought him clothes and books and things like that. But, at 11, I imagine he had learned to read, not probably at a very high grade level. 11 years old is when he was taken out of school. I just think about this and my heart breaks. And I'm so glad. I am so glad that they are keeping this young man's identity secret. I'm so glad about that. Media does not need to bombard this guy. I imagine there will come a day when he'll want to talk. We can be there for him at that time. But until then, I pray that they just leave him alone, that they don't hound him. He needs to recover from what he has been through. Right? This is a case that I will be following because my heart just breaks for this man. So this is a case that I will be following when the trial comes up. Whatever goes on with this, I will be following it because I just want to see justice for this young man. Don't even have a name for him, but that's okay. Guys, keep him in your prayers. He can't be in very good health. Years of neglect, 68 pounds as a 32-year-old man. I can't even imagine. So please keep him in your prayers. The last thing that I wanted to share with you today was our grannyism. We're looking at St. Patrick's Day coming up, and so I thought I'd share an Irish proverb with you. A best friend is like a 4-leaf clover, hard to find and lucky to have. Awesome, right? A best friend is like a 4-leaf clover, hard to find and lucky to have. So I hope you all have a best friend, the one that you can count on. All right. Well, that's all I had for today. Guys, as you're leaving, please hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Hit the notification bell so that you can be notified of all the times that we go live, which is usually most days at 5 p.m. Central Time. So I want to thank you all for being here. Thank you all for watching, and have a wonderful day, and happy St. Patrick's Day coming up. Thank you for watching another episode of Granny's Crime Busters. We really appreciate each and every one of you. Don't forget to subscribe and like and even share the content. You can follow us on any of our other social media platforms at YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We really appreciate you guys, and you can also email us at grannyscrimebusters@gmail.com. Thank you so much, and we will see you on the next one. Thanks, guys.